I'm sure you've been in this situation before. I've been in this situation before. You wake up in the morning and you're getting ready for a big show, and then you feel like your voice is getting scratchy and you're like, oh no. Mm-hmm. Yes. So what happens? What do you do?
What is the answer? Yeah. What up, everybody? It's the Love First podcast. It's your boy, K-Don.
And I'm Natika.
And we have a very special guest with us in the podcast today. When I say special, this is one of my mentors. This is someone that has their hand in production, performing, with so much experience in the entertainment industry, and even scouts and looks for talent and puts them in position for success. We have with us today, Rachael Murray. Make some noise. Yes. Thank you for joining us today.
I am so happy to be here. This is so amazing. I mean, obviously, you know, I think the world of you, and I know how, talk about multi-talented, this guy right here. And I come in here today and look at what you've been building, which I've been stalking on social media, of course. And it is just like fantastic. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you for having me. And it is just incredible to meet you. And
so nice to meet you too.
I know. I mean, and I'm learning about how phenomenally talented you are.
Thank you.
I mean,
Yes.
So much talent in this room, and I'm just so honored to be here. So thank you for having me.
A lot. I mean, yes, I'm so excited. You know, you were able to make it. And when I say mentor, when I tell you guys like how she's helped mentor me, and that was through Talent Inc., you know, where you scout out talent. I was going through like a lot of like personal stuff, you know, in my family. Like just recently, I lost my dad. I mean, thankfully he was able to go to the Talent Inc. event. But right before then, I lost my grandmother, my best friend, and my aunt. You know, so I was in a place where I wasn't even necessarily pushing like my music like that, really like kind of taking a hiatus. And then I found this audition thing for Talent Inc. And when you seen the talent and then you pushed me, I came in there for music. I was like, look, I'm gonna promote my music, get this opportunity for my music. Mm-hmm. She heard the music. She's like, I like the music. All right, get some acting scripts. You're gonna start auditioning. You're gonna make sure you do some acting.
Amazing.
You're gonna push yourself. And just through that process with the music and pushing myself in the acting, it helped me get back on my A game. It's something that helped contribute to us being in this position today. You know, so I needed that motivation. And then the guidance you gave when it came to performing, you know, because, you know, I could perform, you know, so, feeling myself.
I mean, I can perform, Mr. Humble. I mean, it's like he got on the stage and it was like, just took over the whole room. He had the whole room like chanting.
Yep, sounds like
I mean,
Kwame.
it was epic. It was absolutely epic. But, you know, I mean, obviously there was the music component, but, you know, and I think we'll talk about this in a couple minutes. We were just discussing this about how you have to be so well-rounded.
Yes.
And when I saw your personality, I just knew you had all of these other pieces to offer. So it was incredible watching you sort of put those together.
Yeah.
And then I look at what you're doing now and I think, see, of course, you just do all the different things.
And that's why, like, I'm just so humbly thankful for the blessings. I mean, because even like with the audition scripts and everything, you were just like, look, now you need to do this script right here, and let's perform it this way so you can showcase the different parts of your personality. And I thought it was so interesting and amazing how you were able to notice that, because at that point we probably had like limited amount of conversations, and you were able to just pick up on certain things. You're like, hey, we got to make sure we showcase this. So in this 45 seconds, you got to make sure you hit in this part to show your comical side. You're showing you could do your serious side. You're showing you could do that. And I thought that was just amazing mentorship. Like I want to even dive into your background. Like, how did you get this good to a position where you could start mentoring other people? And even long story short, it's also a blessing. So I also got signed with the Mannequin Agency, who's been reaching out with some great gigs. So I want to thank you for putting me in position for that.
Absolutely, that's exciting. I love hearing that.
Yes, but let's hear your story.
Well, when you ask how I got to this position, you know, I'm old.
I did not know
you
that.
learn a lot through the years. That's what happens here. But you know, I mean, I started as a performer. and started when I was very, very young. My mom was a high school choral and drama teacher. So literally from the time I was a little kid, I was watching her mentor her students and see the things that they were capable of and bring out the best of them. And I watched how she had this skill set to say, like, okay, don't try to, fit a square peg in a round hole or whatever the thing
I've
is.
heard
It's
that
like,
before.
it's like, let's take what you're great at and put that forward. And so I really started to cultivate that when I was young, growing up with her. And then, of course, had my own big dreams to come here and move to New York City and pursue a performing career, which I did.
Yes.
And, I was, when I came here, I started in musical theater and did that for many years. But I think I worked with incredible directors.
Yeah.
Incredible directors that were mentors to me. The same kind of thing. You watch people bringing out the best in other people, and then I had the opportunity to start, being an assistant director, and then once you get in the audition room and you sit on the other side of the table with these genius people who are doing this all the time. And you're listening to what people are talking about when they're casting and how they're looking at different things. And it really just was all of these years of, going from watching my mother to doing it myself, being in audition rooms, auditioning myself and listening to feedback and watching how things happened, and then getting the opportunity to be on the other side. And then once I was in control of my own projects and casting in all different types of things, it's amazing how quickly you begin to see people.
Yeah.
It's like, it does not take me, I don't need to listen to somebody sing an entire song. Like, I can listen to you and I can hear where your voice sits. I can hear the sweet spot. I can hear what your natural timbre is. But there's going to be things to learn, things to play around with, and little nuances to learn.
Yeah.
But it's like, you get to a point where it's like, you see somebody, right?
Yes.
And that's what happens a lot. I will say in the Talent Inc. world is that, people come already with these exuberant personalities, or maybe the opposite of that. Maybe they're tentative and they're quiet. And so we're going to look at how we're going to bring them into an exuberant space. Or there's somebody who has this natural personality or their natural skill set they've already built. And it's just like, oh, how are we going to build on that? Yeah. So it's really about being, I think, sensitive to the performer, what they're doing, what they already can do, what you think you can bring out of them, and really just trying to make them the best they can be, instead of like you're a classical music singer. Every soprano should sing this song this way.
Yeah.
Well, that's not how it works. There's all different types of things, and, different types of sopranos and lyric sopranos and mezzo sopranos. There's all different pieces, that's what you want to just let people shine in the way that they can. And that's really, what I look for when I'm working with talent, is I just want them to shine in their own way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're great at it. I remember I had a early Zoom meeting. There was other artists, and you're like, oh, if you want 2K, you can go. You don't have to worry about this part. I was like, I want to sit in and learn more. Like,
you sure did. You just watch everybody and learn everything. But that's really the best way to do it. That's really where you learn, watching other people do their piece. Because what happens a lot is when we're doing the thing, like if we're being coached, you're so wrapped up in trying to do everything right and trying to hit everything just the right way. It's like, okay, wait, now I have to think about, what did they tell me? But when you're watching somebody else, you really can take it on, watch what they're doing, think about what the director is saying. And, there's so much to be learned there.
Soaks in for real.
Yeah. That is, you just reminded me of like the times that I've given voice lessons to like younger singers, and like having to balance wanting to bring out the best in them, right? And then also without necessarily making them feel bad, because I feel like, and I've always told this to other people who like don't understand how singers are, like singing, I feel like is in some ways egotistical, because it's like,
Oh yeah.
instrumentalists are playing through an instrument, and meanwhile our instrument's like in us. So in a lot of ways it's tied to our being. And I mean, there's ways that you can like separate yourself from that, but for someone who's like starting out, they don't really know that, or they might not understand it.
But you make such an excellent point, because we are the instrument.
Yes.
And I equate that to acting a lot too.
Yeah.
That even though you're using technique, you're using, whatever the techniques are for your vocal projection, whether it's speaking, singing, you're using the technique that they've taught you with your body language and stuff. When you're the instrument, there is just a piece of it that it's personal.
It is very personal.
It's personal.
Super.
So, it is, you do get to a point where you can separate yourself a little bit, but that's hard.
Yeah.
It's very hard, I think it's tough. You make a great point.
Yeah.
And young people, they're like, oh my God.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yep.
Got to build them up. Build them up.
You really do. You really do.
No, you're great at building up. And
Thank you.
so even I'm curious, because your resume is amazing. I mean, you've produced so many shows, you've performed and Broadway and musicals. I seen when I was looking down the list of productions, things that stand up to me in the hip hop world, like the LL Cool J's and the Jimmy Fallons, the Stephen Colbert, and everything that you've been able to accomplish. I'm curious, how did you break into the entertainment industry? What do you feel like was that first door and that motivation to get you through?
Well, my big thing in New York, well, as a performer, it's sort of two things. So as a performer, so I'm gonna tell you a little story. So when I was a little girl, I always had these big dreams. Like I just wanted to be. You've heard me tell this story before. Like I just wanted to be in show business. Like I didn't actually know what that really meant, because I grew up in this tiny little farm town, which I'm actually going to be in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
I'm actually going to my hometown this week. I'm going to be the commencement speaker at my high school.
Oh my God.
I'm like really nervous about it.
Oh man.
But it's like, it's wild, because I grew up in this tiny farm town, and there was no internet then and Instagram and things to kind of like figure things out. But I was like, I don't know, I just want to be on the stage and all of this stuff. And so when I was in maybe like 4th or 5th grade, my mom brought one of her choirs to New York, and I got to tag along, and we went to see a production of A Chorus Line.
Ooh.
I definitely was too young to be watching that show, but we're not So I'm sitting in the balcony, and I'm sitting in what was like house right stage left, and I'm sitting in front of this little girl. She's got like the little purple outfit on and the pigtails and whatever, and I am mesmerized by what I am seeing. Like I just couldn't even believe what was happening. And literally I got to the end of that show, and I just, in my mind, I knew, I was like, I am gonna live here and I'm gonna do that.
Yes.
Like I didn't know what that meant or how that was gonna happen, but I was gonna do that.
You were determined.
I was determined. And so from that day forward, my whole life was about how am I going to get out of this little farm town and how am I going to get to New York City and do this thing.
Yes.
So, I did all the things that people do. I worked in regional theater and cruise ships, and like I met, really to this day, still like my very best friend. You already know this story, it's true. So we worked on cruise ships, singing on cruise ships, and saved up all of our money and moved here to New York City. And the very first job that I booked in New York City was the Broadway national tour of A Chorus Line.
Wow.
And I got to play Val, the role that I was like dreaming of being.
Wow, that is incredible.
That's good. Full circle.
It was unbelievable. I was like, oh, okay, so I guess that's it.
It's a
Game
dream
over.
accomplished.
No. Wow. No, but it was an incredible full circle. And I'll tell you one other little piece of that is I had saved my playbill from that, and
from the first show you watched?
From the first show when I was in that, when I was in 4th grade. And so not that production of A Chorus Line, but like I did that show many times. But maybe like the second or third time I did it, there was a director who was one of the original Vows on Broadway. And wasn't she the one that was playing the role when I saw
No
it? So
way.
we go to the first day of rehearsal, and I like took my little playbill. I'm like emotional saying
Oh
it.
my God, I would
but
be
it was
too.
it was such a great moment. But it was that moment where, you know, it truly was one of those dream stories that where it starts. And, you know, then I, you know, did lots of other things in musical theater. You know, that was wonderful. But then I had the opportunity to start producing at an organization called the USO. So,
Yes, we're gonna talk about that.
yeah, so the USO, unbelievable nonprofit that supports the military, but they're largely known for their entertainment initiatives.
That's great.
You know, so, you know, we produce shows all over the world. So I would produce like over 400 live shows there every year. It was extremely intense, but extremely rewarding. It was incredible. And so when I started producing there, that was really where it all changed for me, because I realized as much as I loved performing, nothing that I could personally do as a performer could ever mean as much as the work that we were doing for the service members, these people that were sacrificed, the families, the service members, sacrificing everything for us. And, you know, no matter what you feel about the politics of it, it is like, these are people that are willing to go and give their lives, their families, everything to protect our liberties. And they're incredible people. And I just sort of realized that I could never do anything that would be that important. And I, you know, I was there producing at the USO for like 10 years.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that really was where everything sort of changed for me. And that was where I really got into producing, you know, some of those bigger events, bigger concerts, you know, different types of things that we would be doing through them. Yeah. So that was where my sort of producing piece started.
Nice.
When you started producing, was it the kind of thing where you got into the role and you had a sense of what to do, or did you feel like you hit the ground running, or like what was that experience like?
So when I started producing there, it was interesting because I first went there as a consultant to help them with one particular program that they had. And I was just supposed to be there for like 3 months. But of course I got in there and I was like, you should be doing this and you should be doing that and we should this and we should, you know, just started like,
So you kind of
coming
like
up with all these things.
You took the producer role in some way.
It was. I sort of, they didn't actually like have my job. Like I created my job.
Oh, wow.
And then, you know, I created all of that programming there, you know, and then we ended up, you know, tying, because I worked here in New York, but then I ended up tying into the national organization that supports globally. So, you know, I was producing all over the country and all over the world. But I will be honest that a lot of it I was figuring out on the fly. And that is just the truth. But even there, I, you know, was able to work with so many incredible different people, like at the networks and Lincoln Center and, you know, different Broadway shows and all this incredible talent, and just working with them, their managers, all the people. It was constant learning experience, you know, just like, you know, like we were talking to these incredible people that are on your team. It's all about like, if you get in the space, how much can you learn from every person that's around you?
Yes, totally.
And take that forward.
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely. And so I'm even curious at your, because you produced more shows than like days in a year, right? So that's major because
yeah, sometimes I would have 3, 4, 5, 6 shows happening all over the world on the same day.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's time management, multitasking at its finest.
Yes, it is.
So I'm curious, at the USO, what was your favorite show that you produced, and then you just personally, what was your favorite performance that you've done?
That's a good question. So I think my favorite show, that's really tough.
Yeah.
But I'll
babies.
tell you, they every one of, there are so many that are so special. And there are some things that are like, big with big celebrities that are really cool. But so I'll tell you two of my favorite things that I produced while I was at USO.
Okay.
The first one, and this is exciting because this is like, gosh, this actually is happening in New York City starting tomorrow. So one of the big things that we would work on here in New York every year was Fleet Week.
Oh, Fleet Week. Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking that. Okay.
So Fleet Week actually starts tomorrow, and it's it's Memorial Day weekend every year. And one of the incredible things that we would do is, so like tonight, the big battleships will be sailing into New York City, and they will sail in, and then tomorrow morning they will do the parade of ships up the river, up the Hudson River, and then come to the piers, and then tomorrow night will be the kickoff. So like it would be happening, normally like tonight. We would fly out the USO show troupe and celebrities and, whoever we were going to have on the ship, and we would produce a big show on the battleship. Wow. And so we would have it on the deck of the battleship, and all of the sailors, the Marines, everyone, they all come to all the layers of the ship, and they're all over, and you're out there in the water.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
On a battleship,
Wow.
doing a show with these guys. A lot of them have been at sea for 6 months. They haven't been, on land or anything. And, they're just so excited. And the energy is just unlike anything else. So the battleship shows were some of my very favorites. So those are incredible. I think the other, and this is not a musical performance, but one of the projects that I was so proud to work on was when the film American Sniper was coming out. We did the first ever public screening of that. We did it out at Fort Hamilton, the Army base that's out in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And Warner Brothers came in and built in this unbelievable projection and sound system to the theater there, and we did all of these incredible activations, and we had all this support, all kinds of stuff, and we brought in 500 soldiers and their families. Oh, I'm gonna be a little emotional talking about to watch this movie for the first time. And Bradley Cooper, who was in The Elephant Man on Broadway at that time, came out and did a meet and greet. Nice. And, met everybody, took pictures, talked to all of them about it. And Taya Kyle, who was the widow of Chris Kyle, who that story is based on, was there. And it just was such a special time. The soldiers, they felt so special and honored and acknowledged, and it just was really great to have that here in New York, and to have somebody like the stature of Bradley Cooper there, being so humble and so kind and giving his time. Those are the kind of people that you look at and you're like, wow, that's somebody who uses their celebrity in a beautiful way.
For real.
So that was just one of those really touching opportunities where you're just it was very impactful, I guess. Yeah. So those are, two that I would say that stick out that I'm proud of.
That's really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm even, actually just touching on and using that celebrity in a positive way. Oh, I'm so bad with names. I forgot this guy's name. But in Avengers, the one that played the Hulk, right?
Mark Ruffalo?
Yes. I was doing an event with him for, again, I apologize for names. There's a lot going on. But it was a movie he had with the water. It's water something.
With the water.
And he actually produced it. So it was something environment, something that he was passionate about. Can't remember the name, but we'll put it in the screen post-production. But but he was just someone that, it just reminded me when you told me the Bradley Cooper story, how he was just so engaged with the people. He has this next meeting here, and he's doing this over here. And I'm like, man, we got to go to the next room. And he's just so engaged with people that are engaged with him and just want to give and give. And I'm like, all right, kind of messing up the schedule now. But I just love that energy, someone that's truly like that.
Yeah.
But back to producing these magnificent shows you're doing, right? Because one, just trying to do 2 events a year could be difficult for me sometimes. So I'm just curious.
It is, though. It's hard. It's hard. I mean, don't take away from that.
For sure.
It's hard.
So we need some keys to success from you.
Yeah.
So what basically is your process when producing a show or an event? If you could give us just some keys to success with that.
So I think I'll give you kind of like two different approaches to like keys to success. With events, like if you're doing a show, and I look at events and shows a little bit differently. Like I'll talk about if I'm producing a show, like I have a new Broadway show that I'm producing, and it's something that when you're producing on that level, it's like you recognize how much time and effort it takes.
Yeah.
So you got to do something that you love, and that sounds so trite, but really it takes so much time, commitment, effort, love, that you have to put into it. Like I really just say, work on things you love, like what you guys are doing here. It's like you love it. You're putting such great stuff forward, right? Do things that you love. But really, at the end of the day, every piece of it is about planning. It's about planning and amazing teams and execution.
Yes.
That is literally what the whole thing is. That's what
planning,
you have to do.
Amazing teams, execution.
That's what even like when you're producing, like your production plan, like knowing what you need to do, what needs to happen, who's doing what, that's really the key to it. Because, at the end of the day too, time is money.
Yes.
Seriously.
And you got to be efficient.
Definitely.
You got to be efficient. So, those are the big things. But, in general sort of things, I have kind of a different approach with, kind of keys to success. But if you want to talk about production, that's really what I think.
Absolutely. Now, I appreciate that. I say keys to success. That's for all of y'all taking these notes. But I always say, if y'all don't, I say keys to success. So when it comes back around to me, I make sure I got that in my little notebook because I'm out here in real time. But trying to soak this all in because these aren't things that may work. This is from someone that's done it and it's proven to work. So I think that's amazing. I'm definitely putting that in my notes ASAP.
Yeah. So you had like this career spanning 30 plus years and stuff. And where do you see do you see like anything happening in the next 5 years or anything beyond that, or like what's in it for you personally?
Like what's coming up or what do you? Yeah. So I have a project that I'm working on right now that I am incredibly excited about and incredibly proud of. It is I hate even saying it's a musical project, but it is. But okay,
The Last Match?
Come on.
Okay,
yes.
all right. I'll let you
I was going to say, prepare to be dazzled.
Okay,
but it is. Ready for these words all together in one sentence?
Yes.
A pro wrestling rock musical.
Wow. Different.
Right? Yes. And that's exactly what I did when I heard about it, which was like last May. The conceiver of it and the lead producer of it, brought it to me and told me about it. And, one of the things that I look for are projects that are out of the box and that can be successful across different pieces of media. Right?
Yeah.
And so when Jeremiah, that's my producing partner, brought this to me, first of all, I'm like, if it's a pro wrestling, if it's a rock musical, let's hear the music.
Yeah.
And I listened to the music, and it wasn't like musical theater rock and roll. It was like rock and roll.
Oh
the score is written by Sylvana Joyce, who has an incredible band named Sylvana Joyce and the Moment. Just unbelievable. And I loved the score so much. And then I read the story, and it is the most incredible hero story. I put it against any hero story that's out there. And then it is set, during a wrestling match. And the show is an actual wrestling match, top to bottom. And we've got incredible, like, if any of you guys pay attention to professional wrestling, Matt Cardona, who is like the number one independent wrestler in the world, is one of the stars. We've had Ramin Karimloo who's in Funny Girl on Broadway right now, has been, in all of the productions that we've done to date. Liz McCartney, just an incredible cast. And it is a combination of professional wrestlers and musical theater stars and rock and roll stars. And it's one of those things that, like, it has just gone completely off the hook in a way we never expected. But it's a testament to the community that is professional wrestling. It is the most unbelievable community to be engaged with. But that's the project that I am just very passionate about right now, and that I'm very committed to and working on.
That is crazy, because like I have friends that are both crazy about musical theater and crazy about wrestling. So
those are my people. I need to meet them.
They're gonna flip when they hear about this. So, and like I think about aside from professional wrestling, I think about like the WWE.
Yes.
And they're performing. It's not that different from musical theater. You're putting on a show.
100%.
So I think it's gonna be. I can't even imagine how crazy it's gonna be. So
it is. We did a presentation of it last fall, really just because we had the opportunity. Someone gave us a theater opportunity in New Jersey City Theater Center. And we were like, let's just do it so we can shoot it. We'll get a nice little sizzle and we can start talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it like went globally viral.
Wow.
We sold out 2 shows.
Nice.
We had to turn away 2 blocks of people waiting to come in.
Wow.
Oh my God.
And like we had people started reaching out to us from Japan and India and South Korea and the West End. And it's just been the most incredible journey, but it's a really, really exciting project, and I hope you guys will all check it out.
Yeah,
you guys will check it out too.
If we get some tickets, no, just kidding.
We'll definitely be giving you all the tickets.
Okay.
Don't you worry about that.
I'm anticipating like a Hamilton moment where people are just going to be fighting to get inside the theater.
Yes.
Wrestling.
Yes.
They're gonna be wrestling.
Yeah, like body slamming each other.
Oh my God.
For real. Oh man, no, I'm definitely excited. Y'all gotta check that out. That sounds dope. That sounds look. Everybody in the background, like, yeah, we gonna check that out. We got
I'm
you.
expect to see all of you there.
Yes. Oh, we do have some fan questions we want to get to. Before we get, let me just get last couple questions.
Yes.
So we, a lot of people, when they see the camera, they see the good, right? They see the fact that you made it, right? But what about the hurdles? What were some of like the biggest hurdles you had to overcome to get to where you was at now? And I think that's important for people to understand on your journey, that there are going to be hurdles and how you got to overcome and motivate yourself to get through.
Yeah. The biggest thing, and I'll say this for myself, and I would venture to say, this is probably for every person that is pursuing the performing arts. And I think this is the same in production too. But particularly in the performing arts, the hardest thing is the rejection.
Yeah.
It is the rejection. It is knowing that you have to go to 3-4 auditions a day for months and months and months and months. Walk in there, sing your, 16 bars, leave. Go stand in line again. Sing your next 16 bars. Stand in line again. Send out your demos. Do those. Send in all those self-tapes. Send it all. It's like the hustle of doing that again and again and again and again, and then having the courage to get back up and do it the next day, and back up and do it the next day. It's like it's having the courage to want it that bad.
Yeah.
And the confidence, because it's hard. Like, it's not when people say, well, you just get up and do it the next day. It goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's like how personal your instrument is.
Yeah.
You can't help, but it's not the same as playing a sport where it's like you're going to hit the baseball or you're going to shoot the ball or you're going to, it's just a different thing, because the whole thing is dependent on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so even if you go in and you hit that perfect audition, you just know you did that monologue so right. You could not have done it any better. If the person sitting behind the desk today has decided that they want to hire a girl that is wearing a turquoise dress and maybe pulled her hair to the side, that's what it's going to be. And that's the thing, that's where what really changes. What I wish is that everybody that is doing those pieces of the performing arts would have the opportunity to like sit behind the table, sit in a casting room, watch videos and things come in, you know, to just kind of get that perspective, to understand how little of it is actually about what you do. Because if you're in it, chances are you've got the goods to do it. Now you have to work hard.
Yeah.
Like, there is no doubt about that. But that's the biggest hurdle. And that was, you know, that was for me. That was for everybody, you know, and I think also particularly in New York City, like, listen, you know, I tell this story all the time, is like, when I first came here, I had saved money and everything, but like, you don't know if or when you're going to book a job. Right. So I was like, you got to get a waitressing job right away. And I would waitress till 4:00 in the morning.
Oh, man.
Go home, lay down for 3 hours and get up and go stand in line to go in and sing my songs. And you're just praying that after you talked and waitressed all night, that something is going to come out.
Oh my God.
And you're just praying, right? And that's really the thing, is just having that sense of self and that confidence to know that you're going to get up and do it again, and that you want it that bad to keep doing it.
Yeah. And I think that, that's super deep, because, I mean, in entertainment, well, I mean, in life, it comes with rejection, but I didn't even know, like, doing music, it comes with rejection, but not like acting, you know, where it's like all these auditions. And that was something that you said while you were mentoring us, was sometimes it's just, this role is not for you. It's not about how you perform the role. It's just they may be looking for something super specific that exactly fits the image in their head, and that's what it's going to be that day.
Right.
But having that courage, that belief, that motivation to keep going and keep going back out is amazing. And just even touch on your story, coming back to how you got in that position, because I see so many people scared to, you know, like, follow their dreams. They're like, I'm going to start one day. They don't start. But the biggest thing, it started with you having a vision. Like, listen, I want to do that. It started with you to having a plan to get near that, right? Because no one knows get exactly in, but you're like, listen, I know I could do this. If I work this and I save up this, I could be in this area and get near it. Yeah. Then you took your leap of faith. You know what I mean? So it started with that vision. You put in an action towards your vision, and then the leap of faith. Then it takes you the rest of the way. So it's super, super important.
You know, one thing that I just want to point out about what you're saying, lots of people ask me, you know, obviously the way that we know each other is through Talent Inc.
Yeah.
And lots of people ask me about that, you know, why do you do that? The reason that I do it is because I do not take for granted that along my journey, many people mentored me. Right. Every single job that I went to, like when I was in Chorus Line, I had an amazing director there who really mentored me along, you know, helped me, like, let me understudy different roles, helped me grow as a performer, and then recommended to the production company who was going to do the West Side Story tour, well, you know, you should see her for this, that, and, you know, and people kept putting me forward and helping me along, and I wouldn't have ever gotten anywhere without those people that saw me and helped me along. And when I first got introduced to Talent Inc., you know, I went there as a producer because I was looking for talent, and I saw what Scott was doing, and I saw what they were doing there. Like, truthfully, the truth, like, I could not believe it, because I know people in this city that are trying to get agents, trying to create a community, trying to somehow fit in the puzzle. And I was like, my God, it's like what could take you 5-6 years to build in any one of these markets. You're going to come in here, you're going to work with the best in-class people. You are going to have these classes, you're going to work with these people in person, you're going to get in front of all these different people. And it was like, I want to help people find that way into the business. And maybe it's Talent Inc. It's when my projects that I do here, I want to help people see that it is what you're saying.
Yes.
You don't just show up and become famous. Even though wouldn't it be great if we did? But you have to have a way to get there. And, being part of something that helps people create a community, create a skill set, find that way, I just think is amazing and awesome. Yeah. And I love every moment, whether it is in my shows here, mentoring people, whether it is at Talent Inc., whatever that looks like. I just love those moments because I would literally be nowhere without the people that help me along this journey.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
You're so right about that. I mean, like, I think about where I am now and like the kind of work I've had, and I wouldn't be here if it weren't for the people that vouched for me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like applying for a job on Indeed does not have the same effect as someone saying, like, someone texting you like,
Right.
hey, I know someone who's looking for someone to do this. Are you interested? And you're just like, oh my God. So
Yeah. So yay to the mentors.
Yes.
Thank you, mentors.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's a blessing.
I have one quick question about like singing related. So I'm sure you've been in this situation before. I've been in this situation before. You wake up in the morning and you're getting ready for a big show, and then you feel like your voice is getting scratchy and you're like, oh no.
Yes.
So what happens? What do you do?
What is the answer?
Yes, honey, we've all been there.
Yeah.
That is where you've heard me say this so many times. That is where it is so important to have your technique and to fall back on your technique and have the tools that even when you're not where you need to be, that's with your acting, it's with your singing, whatever it is, that you have the tools to get yourself there.
Yeah.
And even if it doesn't feel great, to know how to, maneuver in your warm-ups, to know how to navigate where your voice feels, where you're going to need to make adjustments to be safe. And that's where, I talk all the time about like training, and like, it just is so important. It's so important, whatever it is that you're doing in these spaces, to have the training to fall back on, and that comes in all different forms. That doesn't, not everybody has to go to a conservatory and do all the things. There are many ways to accomplish that, but you got to have the training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, we know we got a couple questions from the people, and I think if you want to kick off one of the questions.
I can't pull up
I'll pull it up.
Yeah. I've been struggling to download it.
Got you. Yeah, we gotta. Let me see. We're gonna see. We got time for a couple. Okay, we have one from Abby Don. It's where do you see your career shifting within the next 2 to 5 years?
That is a good question. So I think in the next 2 to 5 years, it's interesting because I am coming back to live performing with the last match piece, but there are also other pieces that we are doing with that will be other types of media. And I want to continue to lean into film and TV. But the other thing that I find so incredibly exciting is the digital space.
Absolutely.
I love where you guys are right now. The digital space is the most exciting thing that is happening out there. Like, linear's dead. OTT and streaming is hanging on. But like, the most exciting thing is going to be the digital space. And I have a show that I was the executive producer of that is a digital series. And I want to lean more into that because I think also it democratizes the ability to build content, which I think is important. Everybody should be able, I know it's like saturation, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Everybody
Agreed.
should be able to put their content out there. So I see myself really continuing to lean into that sort of like film, episodic, leaning also into the digital space and how we continue to democratize all of that. That's really where my brain is. I'll always keep my fingers in the live performance because, you know, that's where it started.
Yeah.
That's where
Yeah.
my heart is. But
Yeah.
that's the space that really excites me these days.
Awesome.
Totally. I
So-
agree.
So we have another question. This one from @awkward_starlight. She says, would you change anything about your transition from acting to producing? Also, what would be your advice to give to people who are new to the industry or those who would want to make the same change you did?
So I
Great question.
I don't think it's a great question. I don't think that I would change anything about my journey because it was so organic. I didn't have to, I was very lucky in that way. I didn't have to make the decision like, okay, I'm going to stop performing and now I'm going to do this thing. Like it sort of happened as, it actually happened at that time in my life. I was a little bit away from theater and I was doing more like concerts and jazz, singing with my band and things. And I was in like the process of getting ready to record an album and like this just all happened and I felt like it was meant to be. You know, so I would not change anything about the way that it happened for me.
Yeah.
But for somebody, was it someone who wants to make that same change?
Well, yeah, basically it was, she said, what would be your advice to give to people who are new to the industry or those who would want to make the same change that you did?
So again, when anybody who's new or making a change, again, it really is all about finding those people or those opportunities, the mentors, the opportunities to put yourself in it. Learn. That's the main thing. And like, it's, you know, what's incredible today, the way that we all live on social media and, you know, people are so available.
Yeah.
I hit people up on LinkedIn all the time that I want to connect with, like whether it's people that are producers
Major key.
or, you know, publicists, all different things. Like I just hit them up on LinkedIn or on Instagram and I just like connect with them.
Exactly.
Like that, make those connections, figure out like, what's the thing you want to do and who's doing it at similarly or like you want to. And like just get in there with those people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you really be surprised how well that works out, right? So for example, like, all right, like if you're a music artist, right? Like you're like, oh, I like these films and this stuff. I want to have my music in a film. So I started reaching out to like music supervisors. Now I'm in like music supervisor groups. But then when you get around these groups, you start learning, okay, well, I like to get music from this site. So you should, you know, work with this publishing site or this thing. Because I know as a music supervisor, everything's covered. I don't have to go through the legality of the music and the thing. We know that if you work with this company, it's good. So even being around those circles will let you know what's the best way for them to receive it. Digest it too, you know.
So smart. Yeah, that's great advice.
For sure. What about the Hunter Yeany Collective and your involvement with that organization? Can you let us know about that?
Okay, so this is like where when I'm talking about like being open to opportunities where things go haywire.
Yeah.
So Hunter Yeany is a Formula race. He's an American Formula race car driver.
Ooh.
There are not many American drivers in Formula racing, like 3. So he's driving an F3 on his way to F1. And I got the opportunity to work with Hunter. His dad is a lifelong friend of mine. I've known him since we were 5 years old.
Oh.
Yeah, we're lifelong friends. And when Hunter several years ago became the youngest ever F4 champion around the globe. Like he set the world record. Like there's F4 championships in America, in China, in Europe, all these places. And he set the record for being the youngest ever winner. And when that happened, there started to be a lot of energy around him and his activity. And so his dad really sort of was like, what are we going to do with him? Like, you know, he wanted to sort of get a hold of where his brand, his marketing, his social media, his whole sort of package, he wanted to kind of get a hold of it right in the beginning instead of all of a sudden this kid's in F1 and it's like, oh, wait, now what do we do? It's like, imagine if like, I don't know, like Michael Jordan, if they branded him when he was, you know, in junior high school or something. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like it's like that kind of thought. So, you know, we just started talking all the time about strategies for him, and you know how we were putting him forward and what he was about, were his values, what was his brand about, and you know, I started working with them and building that, and then his dad was like, hey, you know, do you want to like just really come along for this journey? And I was like, yes, I would love to, because Formula Racing is unbelievable. It's very exciting. But the thing that I really learned and why I did it is that the truth about sports is that sports are entertainment. Of course, they are entertainment. And definitely. Every single piece of what we do with Hunter, it literally could be like, it could be a TV show, it could be a Broadway show, it could be any of these things we're talking about. It's just that the product is Formula Racing. So, you know, we do his sponsorships, we do his media, we do his PR, we do, you know, everything that goes around him. And so that's really what I do with him. So I'm developing all of his content and, you know, really basically everything that circles in his world is that we see it from that kind of entertainment perspective.
Nice. Yeah. That's amazing. And like I said, she got the eyes. She be on it earlier. Like, you don't even know. She got to analyze. She already know.
I know. I was like, okay, I saw him. I was like, we're going to get Wilhelmina models. We're like, you know, get it all done.
My last question would be, now you do a lot from the music to performing to acting to producing to mentoring. I want to know, what made you decide to start your own company?
Well, it really was because at USO, you know, we are there's just a very particular sort of framework that everything fits within. And I just really was ready to do my own stuff and do my own projects. And I knew I really, I love the music space so much. Like everything I do in some regard has something to do with music. I love that space so much. And I really wanted to get into producing TV. That was really my goal when I left there, was to really become, you know, an executive producer in my own right for my own company. And, you know, so that was really it. I wanted to be the big boss.
As you should. As you should.
But, you know, it was about having the freedom to, after so many years of doing things. Look, I love every single thing that I did along that path. But, you know, you get to a point where it's like, I want to try these other things. And you want to, you know, just have the flexibility to do that. And that's just sort of where I was at that point.
Yeah, you outgrew it. You received the knowledge and wisdom and experience that you needed from the opportunity. Now it's that next step. Which is good, because, you know, we might have some TV shows together.
We just might.
I'm writing one right now. You know, we go talk with her behind the scenes, see how it goes.
Yeah, I love it. I love what you guys are doing here. It's amazing.
Thank you. But yes, first of all, if you were following for this long, y'all should be liked, subscribe. Let me see you in the comment section. You know what I mean? Have a conversation with us. We would like to talk to you. You know, best comments, we pin it up there. We show some love.
Show them some love.
Show them some love,
you know? The love.
It's going down. And make sure you have that app. You know, it's available. The Love First TV app in the App Store for all iOS devices, also on the Google Play Store for Android devices, and we're coming to Amazon really soon for you guys. But first, make sure y'all follow this wonderful lady right here who's just full of keys to success. Just watching her, you're going to learn something and receive a key. You know what I mean? So where can they follow you on social media?
At MyFabNY.
Yes.
MyFabNY.
She's fabulous, and she's in New York right now.
I am. You can follow me there. You know, if you're interested in learning more about The Last Match, you can follow The Last Match musical.
Yes.
And of course, for Talent Inc. USA.
Yes.
You can hit me up in all of those places.
Yes, definitely support the Talent Inc. if y'all want that mentorship. They give you keys to success and connect you. Definitely gonna be watching the rock musical, wrestling.
I cannot
If y'all need a little rap verse in there, I'll just start rapping and wrestle real quick if y'all need
serious.
me to.
We're gonna come back and bring I'm gonna bring some of the cast.
Yes,
and
we would love
that would be so cool.
We would love
and
that.
stuff. We have to make a date for that.
Yeah, we're gonna have
we
some
do.
fun.
Yeah, you'll love that.
Yeah. Oh, we would love that.
Yeah.
Oh, Natika, where can they follow you?
You can find me on all socials at Natika Music, Natica Music all together. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, even though I don't really use it. TikTok, YouTube.
She kept me on Twitter. I tried to come for Twitter for you guys. Blame Natika. But it's but it's at The Real Katie Don on all platforms. YouTube at Katie Don. Well, at The Real Katie Don, that'll be at The Real Katie Don too, because publicist yelled at me. So, so we're gonna keep it the same. Oh man. And always remember, why hate when you can love first? It's the Love First podcast. Yeah.
Oh.
Don't cry when I come around. I wanna see you smile. Don't cry when I come around. I wanna see you smile. You could call me daddy, 'cause I'll always be here to hold you tight in my arms and protect you. You could call me daddy, 'cause I'll always be here to hold you tight in my arms and protect you.